Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, Amy. How are you this fine Wednesday evening?
I'm good. I'm tired, I'm weary, but I'm really optimistic. I have like a good story or two to share with you, just some good news. But how are you? How's everything on the east side?
Good, good. It's been a little wet the last couple days, but we're
Yeah,
all getting tired. We're getting to that tiredness, but it's almost here. We're
I
we're
know. I know. So welcome to everybody who's new. We're excited to have, I don't know if everybody's noticing, our group is like about 11,000 people now, and that is huge. And when you think about that, each person in our group represents dozens and dozens and sometimes hundreds and thousands of other people. So what I like to tell people is when I'm speaking to an audience is you need to see yourself as a general, that when you walk out the door, you are able to influence so many. So welcome to those of you that are new. My name is Amy Hawkins. This is Jeff Litten. We're just two grassroots activists who love America, and we are excited to just excited. We're weary, but we're just eager to throw it all out there to do the best that we can on November 8th. So we're honored to have you here, and we're just trying to create a place for great conversation as well as networking and putting information in your hands. So it's an honor to have you guys here with us.
it's just really important, and we have so many resources. Our team, we're so thankful for the people on our team that are creating graphics. Heather is doing a phenomenal job
Oh,
and
so
getting stuff out there. And please continue to share everything because that's what's making a difference. We're seeing them go all over, and it's reminding people of the past, and that's the most
good.
important thing, is to remind people of what has happened in the past 4 years, and that's how we're going to win this election, and that's how we're going to see a good outcome come November 9th.
Yeah, and for those of you that are kind of new to technology or still figuring it all out, so there's two or three different places to grab information from. One, please invite everybody you know to this group. Our goal is to have a place that we should not all agree on everything, right? Jeff and I don't agree on everything, but America is all about working alongside one another, working towards freedom, and we should be able to learn from each other. Jeff and I, like even the other day, just had a discussion. He's like, "You probably don't agree with me on this." I'm like, "That's okay. I think you're awesome." And so we have fun learning from each other. So we just hope that this place is, if you know people that are really searching too, they're like, normally I vote independent or normally I vote Democrat, but I'm curious, let them know they're welcome. And if you ever see comments in here that are offensive and they're like, they were bullies, we want you to let us know. Our team is super careful about trying to monitor all of that, but we want this to be a place of just great discussion. We also have a link
And we
that,
have to go off of what Amy just said
yes,
there. We have to be careful on Facebook
yes,
because we've noticed. I mean, we all know what kind of an environment that runs Facebook, and we have to
yes.
be careful and make sure things. And our team is very careful on that because we have seen in the past where groups have gotten shut down, groups have gotten just completely removed, and then it just is gone forever. So that's why it's really important to also one, subscribe to our YouTube channel. As you discovered on Monday, if you were trying to watch the live on Monday, sometimes Facebook doesn't work. So
Right.
and we were still live on YouTube and people were able to watch and join that way. But so subscribe on our YouTube channel and then also sign up for our emails because that is also how you can make sure you stay in touch and you get those resources to you every couple of days. We're sending out emails right now as we prep for the election.
And if people ask, are you getting paid for this? It is a big fat no. Jeff,
I wish.
oh, we so wish. It is actually costing us money. Why are we doing it? Because we're nuts. And we love America. And God has blessed Jeff and I and a number of us with being in positions where we know leaders and we know how things work. And so really, if you're like, this is too good to be true, believe it, it's true. Like we just want to serve you guys and get information out. So Jeff, let's start with some good news that people will laugh when they hear us say this is good news. But one, we already talked about Obama coming in, and you found out today there's another good piece of good news.
Yeah, so they are really calling in all the big bucks here because Bernie Sanders is now coming to Ann
Oh
Arbor
my
on November 5th. So
God.
we've got President Obama, Senator Sanders. They're calling, Vice President Harris was here a couple days ago. I mean, we've seen Jane Fonda. They're calling
Oh my God.
everybody in because they're nervous. That's the important thing to think. We are 20 days. 20 days and it's 7:35. So 20 days and 25 minutes polls close.
Wow.
That is so close. We're entering the final stretch here. So many of us have been in this for such a long time that it feels like it's been forever, but there's more and more people engaging every single
Yes.
day that have not thought about politics. They have not thought, they don't remember what happened in the past couple
Oh, so
years. They just think of what they see on the TV, on their local news. They see what they're paying for gas. They see what they're paying for groceries.
yeah.
This is the time. This is the time for you to start talking, for you to step up. Maybe you haven't stepped up yet. That's okay. That
Yep.
is
It is.
perfectly okay. We understand that you have had, it's been a long and a lot of time for
Mhm.
work to get through,
Yep.
but it's time.
Yep.
We are 20 days away. 20 days away from an election that's going to determine the future of our state and, in reality, the future of our country, because how important Michigan is. It's time. It is time to step up, time to talk to your neighbors, time to talk to your friends, time to talk to your coworkers, everybody. There are 1 million absentee ballots that are sitting on people's tables right now.
Oh, that just makes my heart like
Those votes are out there. And here's the big thing. Most of them have been in hands of voters for 2 weeks. That means they are undecided. Because if you're decided, you're going to fill out the ballot the moment you get it, which
Yep.
400,000 people did and have returned their ballots as of Monday.
Wow.
1 million ballots, over 1 million ballots are sitting on people's tables because they are undecided. So it's time for us to remind
Wow.
them what these last 4 years were. It's time for us to remind them how we were impacted by the shutdowns, how we
Yes.
were impacted by the leadership under this governor, this
Yep.
secretary of state, this attorney general, and these people that are trying to win our votes back. It's time to remind people, it's time to step up.
Oh, and there's a couple of people, Jeff, that like I'm so blessed to call friends. They're super smart lawyers. One like works for Hillsdale College, and they have this phrase that's called "put a pebble in your shoe." And I think so. As to speaking to what you're talking about, I think a lot of times grassroots are like, okay, but where do I start? Like I'm so nervous to talk about this stuff. Well, there's the phrase "put a pebble in their shoe." You want to ask a question that gets people thinking. So for some people, like when Jeff says go talk to people, he's not saying go stand in front of everybody and give your 20-minute spiel about why America's the greatest nation. It could be as simple as texting your friends to say, are you planning to vote? Do you need a ride to the polls? Are you still considering it? Is there any way that I can help? But to put a pebble in someone's shoe can mean asking a strategic question. So, for example, I got an email today from somebody that said, well, I'm for proposal 3. So I need to be creative on how to respond back in a creative and kind way and to say, well, I respect your opinion to make that choice. But as a fellow human being, I just want to make sure are you aware of how it's going to impact parental rights? She may never come back to me and answer me. But if I say that, hopefully that question gets things turning, if that makes sense.
100%. And you can just easily start a conversation with these
Yeah.
people and say, can you believe how much did you spend last week on groceries? What's your
Yes.
energy bill looking like right now?
Yes.
These are things that are impacting all of us, and they're making a difference in people's lives in a negative way for almost
Right.
everyone,
Right.
and that is going to influence the election. We've seen from all
Yes.
of the most recent polls that whether the Democrats try or the left try to make it the number one issue of abortion, it's not.
Right.
It the number one
Right.
issue, the New York Times most recent poll had the number 1 and 2 issues were the economy and inflation. Up to 44% of voters said that that was the number one issue that they're going into the ballot box with. 5% said abortion.
Wow.
44 to 5. This is what's going to make the difference, and we have to have those conversations. We have to talk to them, and I can tell you, we have the momentum on our side.
It's
We're
true.
going to make a difference with this
True.
final stretch. We
It's
have the momentum. That you can see that they're getting nervous, but
yeah.
we're out there. I know every county that I have been to and I've been speaking at, they have dozens of walkers out every day, knocking on doors, calling voters, doing everything they can to make a difference. And that is
Yes.
what's going to win us this election
Yes.
because we have the momentum, we have the issues. We just now need to turn out our voters. And that is what we are doing.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, will you, before we go further, will you talk about, which I think is one of the greatest truths, legal truths that Michigan citizens have no clue about, and that's spoiling the ballot. Will you explain that? And then I'll share a really cool story of how that's.
Yeah. So in Michigan, so if somebody casts an absentee ballot, there's 400,000 people that have cast their ballot. If you find out maybe a week later that you don't support that candidate that you voted for, or maybe you learned something new about a proposal, you learned something new about a candidate, you can change your mind. All you have to do is you go to your clerk's office. You have to go to the clerk's office and you say, I submitted my ballot. I would like to spoil the ballot and get a new one. They will go through and do that whole process with you. And it's easy. We have a graphic that Heather will share in the comments
Yes.
here that you can share with people. You can print off and let people know about how to do it. And a good example Amy's got of someone that learned something new and made a
Um,
decision.
I told Jeff, I was like, this is the coolest story. So I was with a group of people today. We're working to inform the faith base in Jackson County, but also the homeschool families. And we're just honored to be with like some great people that we were working to inform people. And Proposal 3 has an army of people out doing doors. They are amazing. And the gal, Haley, that is our point person for Jackson County, shout out to anybody in Jackson County. She was telling this story. She said they have these groups of people that are going out door to door, and they went to this one home. And this lady, as they were explaining Proposal 3, this lady was just shocked. She was like, it just, right? I mean, to those of us that know about Proposal 3, you're like, is this the Twilight Zone? I mean, she was just in awe. So she went to a local like women's pregnancy crisis center and was just like, can you give me the facts? Like, this just seems so absurd. And so this great lady sat down with her and said, okay, here's what abortion means. And here's obviously explained Proposal 3. It just gives me chills. This lady walked out and said, I have voted yes on Proposal 3, but I'm going to go spoil my ballot. And which means she's going to go change her vote. And what is so powerful about this is if you are like, my efforts at doing door knocking aren't worth it. I'm not making, you have no idea, but that lit bag you're hanging on that door is just what those people needed at that right moment to consider something. So it was just, we just got to tell everybody that it matters. It so matters, the conversations you're having. And I think too, how many of us sometimes like, it's almost like, it's like if we were on a diet, right? And you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to sneak these sweets. Nobody's going to notice. But then like if your friend is like, so how are you doing on that diet? And you're like, oh, shoot, I've been caught. And I think there's kind of that piece with this as well, that how many people are just, I'm not going to vote, or I'm going to go to the ballots, but it really doesn't matter who I vote for governor. But when you have that gentle conversation with someone and they're like, oh, it really does matter, and someone cares how I vote, it's important. So anyways, I just, the spoiling the ballot is something that very few people know about. And I think we're going to have more and more people that are going to say, I've already voted, but I did not know, and I want to know more. Jeff, so talk about some of the stuff that's coming up. Like my head's spinning about the things coming up. Like I'm going to be at a place on Friday representing you.
Yeah,
Your media
there's
right
so
now.
many things that you can attend. So not only there's every contested candidate are having door days all the time, but
Okay.
there's the Stand Up Michigan bus tour that has a stop in Brownstown on Friday, and then I believe the 24th is when they have a stop in Holland and Muskegon,
Awesome.
and they're posting those. So please, if you feel that you want to get energized, those
Yep.
bus tour stops, I've been at the first two and spoken. It's a great time and it's a lot of fun, a lot of like-minded individuals. You hear the top of the ticket, you hear individuals that are trying to fight for our state, and you get
Yep.
to hear them speak, and then you get energized and you might learn something new on how to convince a new voter on what they're looking for. I saw Tudor has a family-friendly rally on
Awesome.
Saturday in Linden, Michigan, which is
Yep.
just around Flint
Okay.
area. And then she has another Ask Me Anything town hall down in Flat Rock on Friday evening.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many things going on and there's events, but at the same time, please know that supplement these events with talking to voters. Don't just go to an event and walk out saying, I did my part, I went to this
Right.
event. If you're going to an event, get energized and then go talk to 10 voters.
Well, and can I also expand that, Jeff, to say, so let's say you don't live in Linden, but you know a lot of people that are in that area. This would be an amazing bridge to reach out to those people and say, hey, we haven't talked in a while. But as you're probably aware, there's a gubernatorial race and this candidate is coming to your backyard. You might like to go listen. So that is one action item you could do is go through your contacts, go through your emails, go through your Rolodex, of people that you know throughout the state and say, oh, I know somebody in Holland. Maybe you would like to go, because the thing with these rallies is consider it not just as a place to go get energized, but a place to hear the candidates. And a lot of people have not had the chance to hear the candidates, or they want to know more on proposals, but now is that chance when they can go. So when you go to an event, take a boatload of people with you. When you hear about an event, make sure you are intentionally reaching out to people that are in that area to say, are you aware? And I think this is the hour, Jeff, like Jeff's heard me talk about this so much, but so I'm in Jackson County and we have a crisis on our hands with our local jail. The reason I bring that up is because so our current jail is in basically a 70-year-old building. It should have been retired like 30 years ago. So they're trying to pass a millage, or we're trying to pass a millage. But my point being, with all the problems inside the jail, do you know what it highlights? Is the American ingenuity. That only an American, I know there's brilliant people all over the world, right? But Americans are known for their creativity and their way to grit through things. And so you walk and you look into their boiler that could explode at any time. And how do they keep temperature with it? With a meat thermometer. And then they're using like wrenches to try and turn the temperature of it. And there's just all these creative ways that have allowed them to make this system last so much longer. My point being, I think if something's getting under my skin this season, it would be the people that are complaining. Why aren't there more commercials? Why aren't there yard signs? Why aren't there? And here's my challenge back to you. Whenever an American has a crisis, what do? We can sit there and mope about, strong word, but I'm going to say it. We can sit there and mope. We can rant on social media about why it should be better. Or we can bite our tongue, roll up our sleeves, and help bring about a solution. So if you're one of those people that's so passionate there needs to be more money, like on the commercials, I'll share this really quick, Jeff, and then I'll bounce it back to you. I was at a Right to Life dinner in Livingston last night. Amazing response of an audience. It was a packed room. And someone told me, they said, the reason there's so many people here, it's not just for the right to life, it's the fear of Proposal 3, which, right, we can use that. But one of the leaders last night was sharing that every week they have to wire $2.2 million every week for TV commercials. So when you are sitting here saying, why aren't there better commercials? Why aren't there more commercials? Some of you are connected to people with resources. You could email them and say, hey, there's this crucial topic, or you could pick up the phone and say, hey, Uncle Richard, I know that you're always looking for good places to invest. Here is a massive need right now. Would you consider donating? Let me connect you to Right to Life or whatever the candidate or cause is. My point being, you may see something that you cannot stand. I would challenge you, Jeff would challenge you to say, you know what? Embrace it. Figure out a way to provide the solution, even in the last 20 days, that you're looking for. Go make signs, make a sign contest in your county, get on the radio, talk about, we're creating signs. There's just so many ways that we as Americans can step up and engage.
I think everybody, as you're watching TV, whether it's the news, the national news, the state, the local news, the commercials, any of that stuff, anytime you get mad,
yes,
it's time to stop screaming at the TV and it's time to do something. So every time that you want to scream at the TV, you have to text 5 friends and remind them about the election.
Yes.
Remind them about what's going on and say 5 people that maybe you haven't talked to in a long time. Maybe you only connect over the holidays. It's time to reach out to those people. It's time to remind people and tell people what's happened and remind them that in 20 days, we have a chance. We have a chance.
We sure
We have to
so
meet
much.
this chance at its level, but we do have a chance.
Yes.
It's not over for all those people that try to say that it's not going to happen. It's the polls look good, the
Yep.
numbers look good. We can win this as
Yep.
long as we all step up and do our work.
Well, and I would challenge you too that so as you guys are watching this, make sure you're tagging a friend. We're streaming it here as well as on YouTube. And when YouTube is done, like I will go in and work to optimize it, right? Like put the right hashtags in so that we can hopefully get some more traction. But it helps us when you pass this information on. So if you find it helpful and encouraging, please do share it. What we
We
also
should all look tired on November 9th. We should all be absolutely exhausted.
Yep.
Everybody that cares about the state should be passed out on their couch on November 9th because they can't get up because they did so much to save this state.
Yep.
Everybody should feel that way.
And I think like, so taking this info too and like putting it in the Telegram space you guys are in, we try to push it out into different groups. But what we need to stay really cognizant of is you can, what is that called? How when you, in other words, we have to be careful. Jeff and I have to be careful to not just talk to those that are already with us. So get creative. So here's a couple other ideas. How many of you live in a city that has radio stations you can call in? So call into a radio station and talk about proposal 3, right? And say, instead of pushing the abortion issue, talk about a topic that is really going to grab people's attention. Should people's attention be grabbed on abortion? Yes. But what Right to Life has told me is that parental rights is the key topic for proposal 3. So why not get some of your friends from church or from work to call in to your local talk show and say, hey, we would like to make sure the people of our community are informed on proposal 3. Do they understand how it's going to influence their parental rights, right? So that's an idea. Another idea is go to your local newspaper. Amy, we don't have a local newspaper. Sure you do. There's something local, whether it's a shopping guide or, whether it's you live in an area that has Detroit news, right? Pool your money together, place an ad or a letter to the editor or submit a special op-ed that says, hey, here's what's on the ballot. And here's why I think people that are feeling the inflation, who are feeling the gas tank prices, who are feeling, right? Here's why I think they should care and what they can do. And oh, by the way, if you change your vote, here's where to go. Those are a couple of the ideas that come to my mind, but definitely if you have a favorite candidate, everybody should have the michigan.gov/vote is where you can pull up your sample ballot. That's the starting point for everybody. Pull up your sample ballot, print it out, start to research who to support, but find a candidate on there you're super excited about and then contact them. Call them, shoot them an email. You could even drop a note in the comments and say, we've tried that, we never heard back. Let us know so that we can tag the campaigns for you. In our email that went out today, we listed the GOP centers around the state. And so there's a number of places around the state. You're like, oh, Macomb's an hour from me. So what? Drive an hour to go donate a couple hours of your time doing door-to-door, meet some amazing people, and contribute towards helping important Senate races win. Any other ideas that come to your mind, Jeff, of like creative ideas you've heard?
No, I think those are great. I think it's important. I'll touch on Prop 2 for a second here.
Please.
That there is a really something that's starting to maybe connect with people a little bit more that we haven't messaged on as much, is if in Prop 2, an individual, like, and this is something that impacts everybody because everybody remembers 2020. Everybody in 2020 received these absentee ballot applications. And we got ones for people that maybe didn't live at our house. They didn't, they hadn't lived there for 20 years. They hadn't lived there. They passed away. There was different things, and it discovered that there were issues with our voter rolls. Well, unfortunately, in Proposal 2, if somebody requests an absentee ballot for an election, they can be they can be on a list to receive an absentee ballot for every election in the future. Which means even if I die and the clerk didn't get that notice that I died, my name, if I had requested an absentee ballot in the past, would get a net ballot in the future. And that's not an application anymore. That's a ballot.
Wait, so that's the new, so like if Proposal 2 passes.
If Proposal 2 passes, yes.
Yes.
That is what could happen. And this touches people
Wow.
because you know that you got these applications, which opened up concerns for people. Now
Yeah.
you might be getting ballots, which is the next step, which is an even bigger problem. So just you can touch on these things, relate to people, and tell them when I try to convince about these proposals, they're constitutional amendments. So it's important. One way that I can convince them is even if they have one concern with
Mm,
anything in the proposal, one concern, they should vote no because it's a constitutional amendment. If there is an issue that arises from this, the legislature can't just go and fix it.
mm-mm,
This is an amendment to the Constitution. It's almost permanent.
mhm.
The legislature can't just fix an issue that has happened. So it's important to know that that's how you can convince people. If you find one issue, parental rights,
Yep.
sterilization on Prop
Yeah.
3, voter ID, the Zuckerbucks,
Yep.
those kind of things, one issue, then tell them if you have that one issue, you probably shouldn't vote yes.
Well, and it's even, and Jeff and I would say too, it's not that those issues don't matter, right? It's not that like I'm not, I mean, to us, like the issue of life is one of the most important issues. I'm saying it for this context and for this moment when we need like proposal 3 to not succeed. You could even make the case with somebody to say, I'm not arguing on the topic of abortion. I'm not going to make the case to you that if you want it debated in the public square, okay, but this is not the moment. This is not the way. When you say you could make that argument as well.
Yep,
Um,
100%. They can have that discussion and they can say, I mean,
ah,
there's been people there are a lot of pro-choice that individuals that are voting no on this amendment because of the way they worded it. I actually heard recently that there was a similar something to do with in California that had to do with parental rights, and it was stripped out of the language in California before they put it on the ballot. If it's too extreme for California, how is it how is it okay in Michigan?
oh, I know. And see, and maybe this is a sad note, but for us to end on, but it's still powerful. So, and I'll throw it out there, and Jeff, you help me tie it up. So what first of all, the good news. So there are legislators that are working so hard for this election. You may not hear much from them at the moment, but they are working hard. And I've just been with a couple of them lately. One of them I was with last night has there's kind of light bulbs going off in our mind of how proposal 3, it really, so let's start here. Gretchen Whitmer will say, well, by doing proposal 3, it is going to be good for the economy in Michigan, which is false. Because here's what's going to happen. I know, right? So, what if proposal 3 passes? Kids, because you go back to that first line of the language, it talks about individual. Sometimes you have to look at like a law, what does it not say? Because what it doesn't say is super significant. Those are loopholes people can get through. So when people say to you, oh, but it doesn't say that in the ballot, you're like, go look at the whole language and look at what is not clearly defined. So the key that individual, this is why it matters. When you see the word individual, think to yourself, that's not just a grown man, grown woman. That could be a 10-year-old daughter. That could be a 14-year-old son who lives in and who wants to make these decisions. But not only that, here's a scary part of it. You could have a 16-year-old in Ohio who has decided at this moment in his life he wants to have sex reassignment surgery. And he could travel to Michigan because in Michigan, he won't need to notify the parents. They can do this surgery and this procedure in Michigan. That he can go back to Ohio or wherever he's from, and his parents have no recourse, no way to like sue the healthcare people that did this. My point being, Michigan is not only going to be the mecca of the nation for abortion, but it is also going to be the place where, how can we say it, Jeff? Kids that are trying to operate outside of their parents' wisdom, that they can travel to Michigan and who knows what will unfold. So I think part of the thing with this proposal is we're not saying the issues shouldn't be addressed. We're not saying the issues don't matter. We're saying this is like a disaster times 10, worse than California. Michigan will become worse than California, and citizens just need to know about it.
And it's just so important. I mean, these
It's
impact both of these proposals, 2 and 3, impact more than just Michigan. That's the important thing to think about,
Yes.
is this is their next step and how they're trying to transform state by state in our country as a whole. We've got a republic that we're fighting for, but I stand by. We can win this. We can win this if we all step up right now and spend these next 20 days fighting. It's
Yes.
time.
Yep.
Time to fight, time to talk to your those networks that you haven't talked to in 3 years. Reach out to your fellow high school graduates and
Mhm.
all of that stuff. It's so important to start talking. For one question I see in the chat here about circuit court, probate court, and
Yeah.
GRCC, I assume that should, if it's GRCC, I assume you're in Kent County. Reach out to the Kent County GOP. They have a guide, that a voter guide that they are sharing with everybody, and they should have all races from the top to the bottom of the ballot
Yep.
in that voter guide. I've actually seen it. It's a pretty detailed voter guide on how to get their get all of your candidates that you want to support from the top to the bottom. But we can win this, and we're
Yep.
going to win this. The red wave is going to happen as long as we make it happen.
Yep.
You can't just sit back. It's time to step up, time to make a
Yep.
difference.
And I think just keep inviting your friends to join you. The last thing we'll say is this: use us as a resource. If you are just stuck, Heather has dropped our email address in there. We are pushing out information, like quality information, through email. Look for it in your spam, your junk filter. Let us know if there's certain topics that you wish we could cover more. We'd love to hear those ideas from you. But use this as a resource. If you're stuck and you're like, I live in this county and I do not know where to start, there is nothing wrong with being 20 days out, 19 days out, 18 days out and saying, I don't know where to start. Goodness, we will take you 24 hours before saying, I don't know where to start. So the key, was it Jeff or no, it was someone else recently that said that sometimes the hardest thing with like doing door to door is that first step, is that first door. So we just want you to know that if you are new to this process, you are welcome here. We are excited to give you resources. And with you, we are going to have a lot of victories on November 8th. Anything else, Jeff? And we'll close out.
Nope. I think one Secure My Vote has just recently shared some more resources on our website.
Yay.
So if you need resources to beat Prop 2, please use them, including a letter from Senator Ruth Johnson that was emailed out to everybody last night. That's on our email list. It's a great letter to share with friends and neighbors and everybody to show exactly why Prop 2 is bad. But there's resources on all these different sites. Please reach out to us. We're here. We're ready to fight. Amy and I are already feeling tired, which is good. We should be. I feel very exhausted, but we're all ready to keep fighting for the next 20 days. And actually, it's after 8 o'clock, so 20 days from right now, polls will be closed in Michigan, and we'll start to see what happens.
Yeah.
So we'll
Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.